Yeah. Okay, Bismillah, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Sound check. Okay, Bismillah, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. We're resuming the Medina book lesson, Medina book 1 reader lesson, and we're on the chapter on Mudaf and Mudaf ilay, which is, as we're going to see here, we read the lesson last week, which is lesson number, in the book, it's lesson number 5, Ad-Darasul Khamis, and today, inshallah, we're going to go over the exercises for this lesson. We're going to go over the exercises, inshallah, for this lesson. So we have the lesson, and just as a recap, this lesson looks at possessive s, how to say, for example, the teacher's pen, that's an example, or the book of the teacher, the house, the car, showing ownership of items. What's the structure? If we look at this first sentence here, it says هذا كتاب حامد. This is Hamid's book. This is Hamid's book, or the book of Hamid. So this first item, kitabu, is the possession, and it's called, in Arabic, I'll write it in English here for now, it's called the mudaf. It's called mudaf. And the second word, which is hamidin, is called mudaf ilay. Right, mudaf ilayhi. It's called mudaf ilayhi, and it's the possessor. Okay, so we can say, for example, just to make it brief, the possession, and here we have the possessor, right? And that's the relationship. They have to be next to each other. There's a couple of things that we spoke about last week. This is just a recap. When you look at these two words together, you see that the second word, which is the mudaf ilay, the possessor, it has a kasra ending. Has a kasra ending. That's the case ending, which is known as majroor. It's known as a majroor case ending. So that kasra ending is majroor case ending, and it's for every word which is mudaf ilay. Okay. The other thing you notice, if it's a word which would ordinarily have tanween, like hamidun, it changes to hamidin. But if a word which doesn't have tanween, like al-mudarrisu, it would change to al-mudarrisi. So you'd say kitabul mudarrisi, right? Or kitabu hamidin, right? In the case of it being a word which normally takes tanween. So that's the relationship between the two words. We spoke about this last week. Go back to the video if you want to recap. Let's go straight into the exercises today. We're going to look at the tamareen, or the exercises for mudaf and mudaf ilay. And let's go through them one by one. It says, number one, أجب عن الأسئلة الآتية. Answer the following questions. And this is based upon the text. So this is like a comprehension question. This is a comprehension question to see if you understood the words in the text. Let's read them together. أين كتاب محمد؟ أين كتاب عمار؟ أين حقيبة المدرس? Three questions asking about the place. The word أين is a question word for where. Okay, so you say where is ... and then the object. So where is Muhammad's book? Where is Ammar's book? And where is the teacher's haqiba, which is bag? Okay, so this is asking where. So you're going to say, for example, تحت المكتب. I think the book of Muhammad is under the desk. Let's have a recap and have a look. Okay, so it says أين كتاب محمد. As you can see the question here, conversation between Sa'id and Yasir. It says هو تحت المكتب هناك. Okay, so تحت المكتب, that would be the answer. Under the desk. The word تحت, it means under. And because the word after تحت has also got a case ending, which is similar to مضاف إليه, which is a kasra or a majrur case ending. So we've got two examples now of a case ending which is called majrur. And again, what that word majrur means is it means genitive. Okay, it means genitive. It's called a majrur case ending. And for purposes of the grammar at the moment, it just means it takes a kasra ending. So any word after tahta, which means under, any word after tahta has a kasra case ending. That's the grammar, okay? Huwa, it is. Remember, huwa is a pronoun. This word huwa is a pronoun, and it can mean either he, if it's a person, but if it's an object, it's going to mean it. It's under the table. Honaka, right over there. It's under the table over there. Honaka. Honaka means over there. If you want to say over here, you just say hona. It's hona, right? It's here. And we spoke about this last lesson. Okay, exercise number 2. It's asking you now to write these two words, put them together, and make them the structure that we've just spoken about, which is mudaf and mudaf ilayh. So it's أضف الكلمة الأولى إلى الثانية. So you've got two words. The first word, كلمة الأولى, that's kitabun, right? And the second word, كلمة الثانية, here is Muhammadun. So you've got two words independently. A book, Muhammad. It says put them together to make this mudaf ilayh relationship. What do you end up with? So you look at it. It says kitabun Muhammadun. That's when they're by themselves. The word by itself has a dhamma state ending, which is called marfu ending. We spoke about this in the last lesson. Refer back to the previous videos. But when you put them together, the relationship becomes a relationship of possession. So there's a couple of changes that happen, and these changes is known as nahu, the principles of i'rab. The principles of i'rab, or the principles of nahu. So it becomes kitabu Muhammadin. When you put them together, it becomes kitabu Muhammadin. What's the changes that take place? Let's have a look at them. The first change, you drop the tanween on the first word. It no longer has a dhammatain, it has a single dhamma. And on the second word, it now changes to a majrur ending, i.e. in this majrur ending in this case is a kasra. So it's Muhammadin, kitabu Muhammadin, right, where before it was Muhammadun. So the case endings changed. Again, the rule for mudaf ilayh is that it's always majrur. So you can write that down as a rule. You can say the mudaf ilayhi is always majrur. Okay, and don't worry if you're trying to work out what majrur means at the moment. It's fine. It speaks about the case ending. But you write this down as a rule in your book. when you're studying the Arabic language, you need a couple of things. You need a notebook where on one side, from one end, you're going to have your exercises that you complete, and on the other, on the other side, or from another page, the middle onwards, you have a section where you write down all of the rules, and you write next to it. For example, this rule is in lesson 5, so that when you go to do review and recap, you can find examples for that rule straight away in case you forgot what the examples are. Okay, so that's just a tip on how to study, a quick tip on how to study the Arabic language. Okay, so your job is to do what? Rewrite these words and make them in the possessive form, i.e. the mudaf, mudaf ilayh, or known as al-idafa. We'll do a couple together, then the rest you'll do at homework. Qallamun hamidun. 2 words. Qalam, which means a pen. Hamid is a name. So put them together. What do you end up with? You're going to say, when you put them together, let's just do the writing first. Right, so we'll change the colour for the endings. Say qallamu hamidin. Qallamu hamidin. Right, so what's happened? You lost the tanween, that becomes 1. You change that and it becomes kasr al-tain. Qallamu hamidin. Okay, so let's do that with the rest. Baytun abbasun becomes Baytu Abbasin. Baytu Abbasin. Abbas's house, the house of Abbas. Ghurfatu Aliyun. Ghurfatun Aliyun becomes Ghurfatu Aliyin. Ali's room. Daftarun Sa'idun. Notebook Sa'id. Daftaru Sa'idin. Daftaru Sa'id. Mindilun, which is handkerchief, a handkerchief becomes Mindilu Yasirin. Yasir's handkerchief, or Yasir's tissue. Qamisun Ammar. Qamis is shirt. Qamisu Ammarin. Sarirun Khalidun. Sariru Khalidin. Ismun Al-Waladu. We're here. Ismu Al-Waladi. Ismul Waladi. You say Masmul Waladi. What's the boy's name? Masmul Binti. What's the girl's name? Right? Kitabun Allahu. Right? Kitabun, a book. Allah. You want to say the book of Allah? Allah's book becomes Kitabu Allahi. Kitabullahi. The changes, right? Say Bintun At-Tabibu. Bintun At-Tabibu. Bintu At-Tabibi. Okay, what's the difference between the words in the first column and the words in the second column? If you look at the first column, all the words in the first column, they're proper nouns, names of people. Hamid, Abbas, Ali. So they ordinarily take tanween when they're by themselves, whether it's a dhammatain. So when you change it to a mudaf ilayh, it's going to take kasratain, sa'idin, daftaru sa'idin. The words on this column, they all have alif and lam at the beginning of it, which means the. And because it has alif and lam, you lose a tanween, as we studied in lesson number 2 or lesson number 3. So it says miftahun, and it says al-baytu, a key, the house. You want to say the key of the house or the house key. Miftahu, that uses al-bayti, that changes. If it's single dhamma, it changes to a single kasra. So that's the difference between the 2 columns. Dukkanun, which is shop. At-tajiru, businessman, becomes dukkanu at-tajiri. Dukkanu at-tajiri. Okay, so that's the example of putting the 2 words together to make mudaf, mudaf ilayh. The first column, the word is proper nouns, names of people. The second column are nouns with the alif and lam at the beginning of it. Okay, you can make a sentence. You can say, for example, the daughter of the man, bintu ar-rajuli. Right? Say bintu ar-rajuli. Then you want to turn that into a bigger sentence. You can say, what's the name of the man's daughter? Ma ismu binti ar-rajuli. And we'll come to that in a minute because you have 2 forms of mudaf and mudaf ilayh in that sentence. That's a bit of a tricky one. We'll see that inshallah in the coming lessons. This exercise, this next exercise, exercise number 3, it's similar to what you did, but it has the words without the vowel endings. Bab al-madrasa. So generally speaking, when you're speaking, you're not going to vocalize. You're not going to vocalize the last word, but because we're doing Arabic grammar, it's important that we do it for this lesson until you become familiar with it. Babu al-madrasati. It's asking you to put the vowels on the last letter. On a side note, this here is roughly the definition of i'rab, or of the principles of grammar. Vocalize the last letter of the words. So if you study, or inshallah when you study al-Ajrumiyyah with us at Madinah College, you're going to see the definition of i'rab is the changing at the end of the letter because of a word that comes before. You vocalize the last letter, and that change happens because of something that happens before. Himaru rajuli, the man's donkey. Baytu Hamidin, Hamid's house. Sayyaratul mudiri, the headmaster's car. Mindilu Ammarin, Ammar's Mindil, Ism Talibi, the student's name. Baytullahi, the house of Allah. Alright, the masajid are the houses of Allah. Fi kitabillahi, this is what we want to get to. Fi kitabillahi, in the book of Allah. Right, you're going to, inshallah, practice your Arabic, or you're going to improve your Arabic as long as you are always looking fi kitabillah. You're always contemplating and reading in the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So fi kitabillahi. Okay, fi, we know that this is a preposition, right? Fi is a preposition. A preposition in Arabic is called harf jar. Just to keep it simple for now, we're going to write in English until, but it's called harf jar. That's the preposition. Okay, that preposition, it has a impact on the word that comes afterwards. What does it do? Yes, it makes it take a kasra. Fi kitab. So here, we've just learnt something, right? Fi kitabi. The first word in this mudaf ilayh relationship, possessive relationship, it may take a dhamma ending if there's nothing that comes before it, or it can take a kasra ending if a preposition comes before it. So the first word, which is kitab, can change its ending as well. Allahi. Now this is the book of Allah. It's always going to be a majrur ending. So we'd say, when we want to do the grammar or explain the rules here, we say fi is a preposition. Kitab comes after a preposition, so it becomes majrur. It's majrur because of the preposition. Okay. Then after that, this is majrur because it comes of a preposition before it. Okay, that's that. Now we look at these two words together. Kitabillahi. Kitab is the mudaf, and Allahi is the mudaf ilayhi, and it's also majrur, but this time it's majrur because it's the mudaf ilayh, not because of a preposition. So the first word is majrur because of the preposition, and it's the mudaf. The second word is majrur because it's mudaf ilayh. Okay, majrur here, as we said before, it means it takes a kasra ending. Something is majrur, it means it takes a kasra ending. Okay, let's do this one together. Min bayt al mudarris, from the house, from a house, the teacher. How would it end? From the teacher's house. You want to put it together now. From the teacher's house. Min bayti al mudarrisi. Min baytil mudarrisi. Why? Because of comes after a preposition, and this word because it's mudaf ilayh. The next exercise, these are the practice exercises where you get to practice to read. So you need to practice reading and you get to practice writing. Okay, so it says iqra for intents of the for your purposes, you need to also write them out, and you need to translate the sentences into English and then back into Arabic again and test yourself on the meaning of the vocab. We'll just read through them. The translation I'll leave for you to do. So you've got a task and you've got an activity that you're going to be doing. أين بيت المدرس هو بعيد القرآن كتاب الله الكعبة بيت الله محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم رسول الله خرج المدرس من غرفة المدير هذا بيت حامد وذلك بيت خالد أين ابن عمار طالب وابن ياسر تاجر بيت المدرس بعيد وبيت التاجر قريب هذا مفتاح السيارة أين مفتاح البيت من أنت يا ولد أنا ابن عباس. Right? Then it mentions وابن من هو ابن خالد أين مسجد رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. And then lastly هو في المدينة المنورة. It's in Madinah al-Munawwara. So these are the sentences. There's 12 sentences for you to write. When you're writing them out, try to make it self-dictation. Ayna, then you write it out afterwards. Without looking, you don't copy the words themselves. Okay, so these are the sentences. Let's have a look. What's new in here? What's new in here is this sentence number 5. There's I think it's the first time or maybe the second time it introduces a verb, kharaja al-mudarrisu. So kharaja is a verb. If you look at all of these sentences, they all begin with a noun apart from number 5. Sentence 1, it says Ayna baytul mudarris. Al-Quran kitabullah. The Quran is the book of Allah. Al-Ka'batu baytullah. The Kaaba is the house of Allah. Right? Muhammadun sallallahu alayhi wa sallam Rasulullah. Muhammad is the messenger of Allah. Allah's messenger, right? These are all examples of mudaf, mudaf alayh, kasra and then mudaf alayh, mudaf alayh, mudaf alayh, right? Allah in all of these. Here you have a sentence that begins with a verb. Kharaja means to leave, he left. The word kharaja, it means it's past tense verb to show leaving, he left. Kharaja al-mudarrisu. Okay, who's the one that left? So this is a verb. Let's put a V for verb. The second word is the subject. And then everything else that comes after is in the phrase of the object. You've got verb, subject, object, order in Arabic. In English, it's subject, verb, and object. And you don't have a sentence without a verb in it. In Arabic, you have 2 types of sentences. You have a sentence that begins with a verb and a sentence that begins with a noun, and they are treated differently. Okay, so any sentence that begins with a noun, all the other examples here, is called a nominal sentence. A nominal sentence, right? So sentences are 2 types. Sentence types. You have 1, nominal sentence, and you have 2, which is a verbal sentence. A nominal sentence begins with a noun, and a verbal sentence begins with a verb. That's the difference you need to know at the moment. There's differences in how you describe each word in the sentence when you're speaking about these sentences. خرج المدرس من غرفة المدير. That's something separate. The point here though for this lesson, going back, is this word, this phrase here, من غرفة المدير, from the teacher's room or the headmaster's room. The room belongs to the headmaster. The headmaster is the mudaf ilayh, so it takes a kasra ending. غرفة, because it comes after preposition, that also takes a kasra ending. Okay. Oh look, there's 7 more sentences on this exercise. بنت حامد في المدرسة وبنت محمد في الجامعة. اسم المدرس سعيد واسم المهندس خالد. عم الطالب غني. باب المسجد مفتوح وباب المدرسة مغلق. خال حامد فقير. سيارة عباس في الشارع. ابن من أنت؟ أنا ابن المدرس. أين الكلب؟ هو تحت السيارة. There's a picture. Someone says, أين الكلب? Where's the dog? هو تحت السيارة. It's under the car. Right? It's under تحت السيارة. Takes a kasra because the word after تحت is always majroor as well. Right? Another grammar point which is important that's mentioned in these lessons here is this word ism, the word ism, right? And the word ibn, where is it? The word ibn here. Right, these two words, ism and ibn, you only pronounce the alif when it's at the beginning of the sentence. What do I mean by that? What I mean by that, if you look at the word ismul mudarrisi, right, there's an alif at the beginning of it. You can see they've put a little kasra here, right, to show that you pronounce ism. You put a kasra on it. You don't say usmu or asmu. You say ismu. But when it's got a word before, like wa here, which means and, when it's got a word before, letter before, you skip it and you jump straight to the word letter afterwards. Say wasmu. Don't say wa ismul muhandis. Okay, so pay attention. There's two ways. Ismul mudarrisi Sa'id, wasmul muhandisi Khalid. That's the correct way. It would be wrong if I say ismul mudarrisi Sa'id wa ismul muhandisi Khalid, right? Because I've now added a Hamza to that word and there's no Hamza there. So you don't pronounce it. The same is for the word ibn. In exercise number 19 or sentence 19, it says ibnu man anta. Whose boy are you? Whose son are you? Ibnu man anta. Ana ibnul mudarrisi. I'm the son of the teacher. I'm the teacher's boy, right? Son. Ana ibnu. Ana ibnu. I didn't say ana ibnu. I said ana ibnul mudarrisi, right? Like this alif on alif and lam, the alif of the alif of the. This alif, you don't pronounce it. If there's a word comes before, you only pronounce it at the beginning of a sentence. That's exercise number 4. Again, you have to translate those into English. You have to write them up, copy them. You need handwriting practice. And by handwriting, I mean not copying the shapes, but self-dictation. Number 5, it says make sentences by filling in the blanks. Okay, so here you have to something al-bayti mughlaq. Okay, something of the house is closed. What's going to be closed in the house? It can be the window. The window of the house is closed. It can be the door of the house is closed. All right. So you pick a suitable word and you have to make sure you write it correctly. So I'm going to say the house door is closed. The house door is closed. How would I write that? Okay, remember this relationship between the mudaf and the mudaf ilayh. There's certain rules that you have to remember. So I say bab. Okay, al-bayt mughlaq. Okay, so that first word, if you go back to exercise number 2, when you're putting these vowels at the ends, the first word only has a single dhamma all the time, no tanween, and it also doesn't have alif and lam, right? So now you're going to apply that rule here, because you're going to have to put the end in. Babu al-bayti mughlaq. Babul bayti mughlaqun. The door house closed. It would be a mistake if I said babun al-bayti mughlaq. That's wrong. Right? Why? Because the first word doesn't have tanween. You drop the tanween if you remember. Another mistake would be to add alif and lam. Al-babul bayti mughlaq. That's another mistake because the first word doesn't have alif and lam. So you have to make sure you put the grammar right. Aina something as-sayara. Where is something of the car? Let's say where is the key cards, the car keys, the key of the car. Where's the car? Keys, right? Aina something sayara. What's the word for key? The word for key is miftah. So you get the word for key, or you write the key. Miftah, right? Okay, now is the important point. What's the ending? The grammar, miftah as-sayarati, and so on and so forth. Okay, so I'll do the rest of these exercises, and online we'll put a link in the inshallah in the on the portal for the answer key that you can access to check your answers. This exercise number 6, again, more practice of mudaf and mudaf ilayh. It's asking you to sahhi at-tarkibat at-taliya. Tarkib means the order of the words, right? With these words, either the order is wrong of the words, or the vowelation is wrong, the vocalization is wrong, where the vowels are on the sentences. Al-qalamu at-talibi. Let's just do 2 together, and then the rest you can do yourself. Okay, this is supposed to be the pen of the student's pen. So what's wrong with this sentence? Like I mentioned before, this has got alif and lam on it. Al-qalamu talibi, but it shouldn't have alif and lam, because the mudaf doesn't have alif and lam. It should be qalamu talibi. So now it's correct. Take off the alif and lam, you got the correct answer. Bintu Hamidun. Hamid's daughter. What's wrong with this sentence? Or this phrase? It's not even a sentence. What's wrong with this phrase? What's wrong with this phrase is that shouldn't be Hamidun. It should be Hamidin, because it's mudaf ilayh. Mudaf ilayh is always majroor ending. In this case, it takes a kasra. Ismul walada. The name of the boy. That should be Ismul waladi. So there's the examples of correcting. Do these ones yourself. Babun as-sayyadati ar-rasulu Allahi ibnu al-mudarrisin. Make the correct changes to the endings, either delete or add, or what needs to be done. Exercise number 8. What does exercise number 8 point out? We've jumped. Where's our Madinah book? Let's get back to the Madinah book. Exercise number 7 are numbers. Numbers are important. Sab'a. Right? Tamreen sab'a. Exercise 7. Right? Tamreen sab'a. What does it show you? You've got the word by itself. Muhammadun. Muhammadun. Right? You've got the word by itself. Then you've added something at the beginning. You've added this. Ya. Ya. When you're calling someone. It's called harf an-nida. It's the harf, the particle of getting somebody's attention that's far. Right? Ya. Okay, what happens when you use ya? Have a look. What's changed? Muhammadu. Ya Muhammadu. Right? You've got Ya Muhammadu. What's changed? You said Muhammadun, now it's become Muhammadu. So what that tells you is the word after Ya, you lose the tanween. Right? Waladun. It says waladun, boy. But you say Ya waladu, no tanween. Ustadhun, teacher. Ya ustadhu, no tanween. So the word after Ya, which is called the manada, the thing which is called, is you lose the tanween. Okay, so it's asking you now to do that exercise yourself. Ya Ali, how does it end in Ya Aliyu or Ya Aliyun? Ya Aliyin, Ya Aliyi, you choose. Right, based upon the principle. It's just applying that. Now, we're on to the last exercise, and then it says grammar point in this book. It says exercise number 8, number 8. Iqra al-mithal. Mithal is a good word to use. It means example, right? So as you learn the words that are in the book, you're learning the words which are also giving you instructions. Right? Iqra, you read. It's a command verb, right? Iqra, let's start off with the first one, is a command verb to read, as you know, because everyone that's, alhamdulillah, studied a bit of Islam and memorized a bit of the Quran knows that the first verse to be revealed to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was Iqra. So Iqra means read. It's a command. Al-mithala, the example. Example, right? So here's the example. Kitabu man hadha. You're asking about whose book it is, right? So you've got a book, right? But you know who it belongs to, right? So Kitabu man hadha. Whose book is it? So that's going to show you the word that comes here. The word that's going to replace man hadha. That's going to be what in the answer? That's going to be the mudaf ilayh, right? The word that replaces that is going to be the mudaf ilayh. So you know it's going to have a kasra ending. Whose book is this? You say هذا كتاب المدرس. So you start off with the last word first. هذا. The second word, the first word comes second. كتاب. And then the last one's the answer to that, man. كتاب المدرس. Right? Make a question. What is that? First of all, ما هذا؟ هذا قلم. Right? What's this? ما هذا؟ هذا قلم. قلم من هذا؟ هذا قلم محمد. ما هذا؟ هذا مفتاح. مفتاح من هذا? Look at the question. Don't say it doesn't say مفتاح. It says كتاب من هذا. No tanween. Why? Because you're asking about something which is going to be the mudaf, and the mudaf doesn't take tanween. مفتاح. هذا مفتاح. This is a key. مفتاح من هذا? Whose key is this? ما هذا? لا, ما هذه. Because it's a feminine item. Items are either masculine or they're feminine. And the word for watch is sa'atun. Sa'a. Watch. Alright. So whose watch is this? Sa'atu man hadhihi. Right, it changes. Sa'atu man hadhihi. Let's just write that one out. You say Sa'atu man hadhihi. Sa'atu man hadhihi. Whose watch is this? Hadhihi. Sa'atu. You start with the last word first. The first word second. And then the middle word becomes the answer for the last one. Hadhihi sa'atul muhandisi. We spoke about ism and ibn already, so we won't have to repeat that. And this is examples of that rule. And that hamza is called hamzatul wasli, i.e. this hamza, which is at the word of, okay, you have ibn, you have ism, right? This here, these two are called hamzatul wasli, i.e. al-wasl means to connect it. You continue reading, you don't stop. Where the other hamza is called hamzatul qat'i, where you stop on it. You have to read it every time, right? Now, like here you have anta. Have a look at this example for the two different types of hamza. It says ibnu man anta. We did that already. Whose son are you? So you have ibnu, which has a hamza. You have anta, which means you. It's a pronoun. We did huwa here already. This is anta for a boy, right? If it's a girl, you say anti. It'd be bintu man anti, but it's ibnu man anta, right? So you have two hamzas. This one, the first one, you have the second one. The first one, it doesn't have a hamza on top of it. This is called hamzatul wasli, because when you connect it, anabnu. When you have a word before, you don't pronounce it. Anabnul wazir, right? But the other one, which is hamzatul qat'i, which means you break it, you pronounce it every time. In the middle of a sentence, you pronounced it here. In the middle, you pronounce it at the beginning of a sentence as well. Ibnu man anta, ana ibnul wazir. I'm the son of the wazir. So two more pronouns as well, anta and ana. With regards to pronouns, they're really important. So it's important that you keep track of them. So far, you've done huwa, which means he or it. You've done hiya, which means she or it. You've done anta, which means you, masculine if you speak to a man. To anti, if it's you but you're speaking to a female. And then you've done ana, which is the last one, I. These are all subject pronouns and they're singular. So now you've done all the pronouns. These replace nouns: ana, anta, anti, huwa, hiya. These are all the subject pronouns. And with that, we conclude and complete one of the hardest lessons in this first book, which is mudaf ilayh. Inshallah, if you review it as you're going to throughout the book, but you also take good notes, write down the rules at the back of a book, inshallah you'll find it easy to grasp and to understand. If you have any questions, then please feel free to send them on the portal. We have a fatwa bank. You can use that to ask questions about the Arabic language classes, or if you're in the class live, ask questions in the comments, or you can send a message inshallah on the Telegram portal for the Telegram group for the portal members if you've got any questions on the Arabic class. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.